Hey, Mystic Michaela spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. Today, we are talking about your inner child aura, what that is, what it means, how to tap into it as a way to cultivate joy and connect yourself to your authentic self and spirit. But first, hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys. Okay, so I have to ask, what was my aura? I don't know if I've ever even asked you that. I probably have asked you it, but I don't think I've got a detailed answer.
Yeah.
So what was my aura when I was a child?
Yeah, so looking at your childhood picture, you're still blue and red, but you're mostly blue. And it's like a very kind of jumpy blue. It's hard to explain it. It looks like little waves or frequencies or something. I mean, there's still red, but there's a lot more blue. And what I would say is you were more confident in being a blue than you are now, which I'll see as kids because they have no reason yet, because society and programming and whatever haven't affected them yet. You have no reason to be ashamed of who you are and how you approach the world. So you're more confident in your empathic approach.
Okay, so what age would you say? Because you've seen all my childhood photos.
Yeah.
So what age? What age are we looking at here?
I've seen the albums.
You see you see little Scotty when he was little baby.
Right. I've seen teenager Scotty who looks like Ralph Macchio.
Yeah, Ralph Macchio. So what are you saying? Like 3 to like teenager?
No, I would say like 3 to like 8 or 9. Then after that, you start to shift a little, and your blue gets kind of compartmentalized or put to the side a bit, and you're a little more sharp in the red. So I feel like with you, that's when you started to gain awareness of that. Maybe your empathy was, could be construed as a weakness. So you're definitely still a sensitive, empathic, nice person, but I feel like you are more forward or knee-jerk reaction with like your wit or your mouthiness or maybe like, your behavior or whatnot. But I bet you were always doing it to still, your motivation was still to be empathic. So.
But you're saying that my red starts to develop more even before high school.
Yeah.
Wow.
You seem like you're sensitive to it. Like you didn't want other people to notice it. At some point, you got the memo that being sensitive was stupid, weak, a waste of time, judged as a character flaw, and taken advantage of.
Okay.
So at some point, you got that memo. So you started leading with the red.
Okay.
And actually, and you kind of are like this to this day, but I bet you were more like this as a kid. If you saw other people being mistreated or whatever, or you felt like your blue was being touched or you're being sensitive in some way, I feel like you would go immediately to the red and then maybe make a comment or say something off-putting or get somebody where it hurts them. Mm. And I can see you using your empathy, especially if you didn't like somebody or you knew what they were doing to somebody else, like a bully, for example. You're like, oh, you're bullying that person? Well, I'm going to go straight to what I know through my blue, what your insecurity is, and I'm going to bring that out. And I don't care what you think about me as long as you stop picking on other people. So, like, you're real good at, like, bringing the bully down by saying the thing that they don't want to hear because you know it immediately because you're actually a very empathic person. Like, you read people really well.
Oh, okay.
Like, you know what people are sensitive about.
Yeah. All right. And then so then basically through my childhood, you're saying I was mostly red after 10.
Yeah, I can see you getting in trouble a lot for that.
Yeah. Class clown kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wasn't a great student or anything by any means. And then I guess that red stays a while. Yeah. And then I would say, probably just the last 4 or 5 years, maybe even, is the blue start to creep back in again? Does it shift back for me?
You've been tapping more into your inner child aura, which I talked about, and I'm going to talk about more coming up. The more spiritual work you do, the more you tap back into the way your aura is supposed to be or how you were born with it as. And you can't go backwards, and nobody wants to, but I see with you, there's more confidence in that blue now.
Okay.
And then there's more of like a a strength in it. So I see that, especially from doing the podcast and working with all the MMSF members and everything, I feel like you're more confident about saying, hey, this is how I feel. Or I'm going to stay in my blue right now to talk about something instead of go to my red. So I feel like you're, again, more confident in your empathy and your sensitivity in your blue aura than you were in the past. Like, you're not hiding it.
All right, and that, okay, and I agree with that. And is that okay? And I guess my other question, if I'm going to look at it logically, instead of so much through the spiritual lens, is that something that just comes with age? Is that
no,
just, no,
no,
okay, no, okay.
Oh my gosh, I wish.
Okay,
I think age can help if you let it.
Yeah,
I think age can help if you let it, but I see a lot of bitter older people.
Okay,
a lot of bitter older people, and actually they get more angry. And more closed off and more stuck in. And I think we've all met adults who act like really wounded children.
Okay.
And actually, when you tap into your inner child aura, you're not immature at all. You're very fulfilled and you're balanced and you're secure. Like when I read little kids, especially when things are they're the ones that get it the most in the room. Because they're so balanced and they understand. And I'm going to talk about this. And they can take a gentle criticism and they want to learn things and they want to see something different and they want everyone, to have conflict resolution and then get past it. So that's what children are like.
Okay.
But adults who act like children, you know what I mean?
All right. So so then I'm doing something right, I guess. It's not just I'm aging into it.
I think the more you work on yourself in any capacity, like here or therapy or whatever you're doing, the more you kind of tap into who you are actually in a balanced way. But just doing so many readings, I keep seeing, and that's why I chose to do this episode, because I kept seeing the same message over and over again. It's like, hey, when people are like, I'm missing something or I feel stuck or I don't know what to do. It's like, why don't you have this color in your aura anymore and you had it as a kid? Time to tap back into that somehow. Time to start remembering that, because that's the ticket to actually moving forward. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Okay. All right. Look, we have, one more question before we go to a little break. So I know I've asked this many times, but you've never, ever seen a different color. You've never seen a purple, yellow, green in my aura. It's never been there.
It's got your red and blue.
Because you read so many people and you're always telling them like, oh, you're, let's say you're purple blue, but you have like little yellow sparkles, or you're green and purple, but at one point you were blue.
Right.
Everyone always seems to have had that a third or fourth color at some point, but I've never had it. It's always just been red and blue.
I get what you're saying, because sometimes kids, they have like really cool or little turquoise in there, little pink, little yellow sparkles.
And no, for me, it's just always been such straight.
But not everybody.
No, I know.
And you're one of those. Not everybody. When I look at myself as a kid, I'm still the same.
Right, so. But you said you're purple indigo, but you said in the past that like sometimes you had yellow or wore yellow.
Inauthentic when I was teaching. Like if I look at, actually, like somebody gave me pictures from 2004, and I was so inauthentic yellow. It's hard for me to even look at those photos. Yeah. And oh God, but that's different than a kid. Like, they don't wear inauthentic colors. They just you just are. No, you're red and blue.
And I've never worn it. So and that would mean I've never wore an inauthentic color.
I agree. I don't think and that makes sense for you.
I guess that does make sense, because it's very difficult for me not to be authentically myself. It might have gotten me in trouble at times, as I think you're gonna tell a story when we come back about how my inner child aura, did go off so well at some point. But all right, let's do those couple of ads and we'll come back with that story.
Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
So how was your workout today?
You know what? It was really good. I was pumping iron. I was doing my curls, my chest press, my shoulder press.
Yeah. So that means you probably took your scoop of athletic greens.
Oh, yeah. I took my scoop of AG1. You got to understand. My dumbbell curls, 5 pounds.
Whoa.
5. Usually I do 2.5 pounds.
Yeah.
5 pounds.
It's the healthiest thing you can do in under a minute. And AG1 has been part of millions of mornings since 2010. I take AG1 in the morning, right before I have my coffee, and it makes me feel ready to take on the day. And it's the best thing, honestly, I do every morning in under a minute for myself. AG1 is delivered to me every month, so it's been super easy for me and Scott to make it our daily habit. I also get the single serving travel pack, so I never have to miss a day. I just mix the powder into ice cold water and drink it first thing in the morning. That's it. With AG1, taking good care of my body each day is really that simple. If you're looking for an easier way to take supplements, Athletic Greens is giving you a free 1-year supply of vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. Go to athleticgreens.com/KYA. That's athleticgreens.com/KYA. Check it out. Hey, Scotty, what's wrong?
There's this one show. I want to watch it. It's on a specific channel. It's the only show they have that's good. Everything else is terrible.
Yeah.
I know what's going to happen. I'm going to get it. I'm going to watch it. I'm never going to know how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be stuck there paying, all this money every month for it.
Solution for you.
Okay.
Rocket Money. Okay.
Okay.
Rocket Money, formerly known as Truebill, is a personal finance app that finds and cancels your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. Over 80% of people have subscriptions they forgot about, like that streaming service you bought to watch just that one show you're talking about on, or that free trial that's never even been used. Rocket Money will quickly and easily identify your subscriptions for you so you can stop paying for the ones you don't want. Simply find the subscription you don't want and press cancel, and Rocket Money will cancel it for you. No more long hold times with customer service or tedious emailing back and forth. Rocket Money makes canceling subscriptions as easy as a click of a button. Over 3 million people have used Rocket Money, saving the average person up to $720 a year. And what do you think about that, Scott?
I think that sounds fantastic.
All right, so we're going to stop throwing our money away. You can stop throwing your money away, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the easy way by going to rocketmoney.com/KYA. That's rocketmoney.com/KYA. rocketmoney.com/KYA. Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
Okay, so we were just in a situation where your inner child aura totally came out.
Right.
So we got invited to our friend Casey's birthday, and it was at a lovely Japanese restaurant, but it's totally out of your comfort zone because, you don't know how to use chopsticks, and you like seafood, but you don't know what all this stuff is.
I love this kind of food.
You're ready for sushi. You're all right.
Yeah, well, it's just a place I just would never go.
Right.
Other than this birthday party.
Well, first, it's valet parking.
Yeah, right off the bat.
Right away, we're where is it? It's also kind of in a downtown area. It's a little fancy. You know what I mean?
A little bit.
For us.
Yes. I did not wear one of my Norio Aura shirts. I actually put on I think I wore a button-down shirt. Just look presentable. Yeah.
So we come in and it's a lovely dinner party or whatever, but there was a very serious waiter, and then there's very inner child Scott. And I feel like you two didn't understand each other.
Okay.
And this is where our story begins.
All right. All right.
So the waiter had a green purple aura. If you've been listening to this, you might understand that means he's a foodie. He's extremely professional about his job as a waiter. This restaurant has a really nice reputation and stuff. So he's really into the food and their mission and what they do there. And he's probably also used to people that also understand all those things.
Yeah.
And then there's Scott, who's trying to use a chopstick as a spear.
Well, I want to right off the bat, I liked him right away.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah. And that's, things got lost in translation. The first thing that happened was he came over and he asked me, what do I want to drink? Well, it threw me off. Right off the bat, it threw me off because I'm wait a second. I like Tennessee whiskey.
Yeah.
I like Fireball.
You like your Fireball, sir?
Yeah. And I knew deep down they probably didn't have Fireball there, but I had to ask anyway.
Right.
And then he gave me, an answer of what was it like.
And he's no, excuse me, we have Japanese whiskey.
Yeah.
We have Japanese whiskey. And you're and you made a face like a 6-year-old would make if you cut the crust off their toast wrong or something. You're no, like that. And then he's okay, I'll just bring you regular whiskey. All right, so he did.
He did, yeah. He named some Japanese whiskey. I didn't know what the heck he was talking about. I'm I can't risk that.
Right, 6-year-old face. You're ugh.
So I'm give me some whiskey. And he's I think it was, I can't remember what, maybe Maker's Mark or something on on ice. So he brought me that.
Right.
And it came out, and I was like, this is not good.
Then it didn't taste good, and you were making all these faces. And then you were like, sir, come here. And he comes over, and you're like, I don't like this. I'm not into this. It doesn't taste right. And he's like, excuse me, sir, it's Maker's Mark and ice. So, like, basically, like, because you the way that you asked, you were like kind of like a connoisseur of whiskey. You're like, do you have any cinnamon whiskey? Do you have any Fireball, sir? And he's like, it's just Maker's Mark and ice. Okay, like obviously you don't know your whiskey. And so he did bring you the Japanese whiskey.
Did. And that actually, I'm going to be honest, that was really good.
And you were like, yeah, this is good. This is nice. Right.
Why didn't you just do that in the first place?
Then part 2, it was like family style. And like the waiter put it upon himself to kind of decide what the table wanted.
Right.
Because, and he knew the menu really well.
And here's the thing. There were other people there that had a lot of things like, I can't eat this, I can't eat that.
That
I won't
is
do that.
true.
And I was just like, bring everything.
Yeah.
Like, I'll eat anything you put down.
That is true.
I had the octopus, I think. Was it octopus? I can't even remember.
God, that was
whatever. But
awful.
I had everything. The only problem was, and I'm eating everything, and I am thrown off a little bit because it is family style.
Yeah.
And, normally, I'm a social distancer by heart. That's why I did so well in the COVID years. I flourished. Everybody knows.
Every time they put down a dish, you were like, is this just for me?
Well, the dishes were very little.
And
There's only a couple things on the plate.
Like, Scott, stop it. Everybody's supposed to share.
Yeah, and you're
like taking your one chopstick and spearing the stuff off the plate.
Well, they didn't give me a fork. They didn't give me a knife. I actually asked for a fork.
Can I have a fork?
They brought me a spoon.
They ignored you 4 times and then brought you a serving spoon.
They brought me a spoon.
A serving spoon.
So like I got this one chopstick that I'm just stabbing things with. I don't know how many things to stab. There's only like 4 things on the plate. I'm adding up. There's like 6 people at the table.
Right.
Do I take just one? Do I take half of one? I wanted 2.
I know.
I was trying to get 2.
I know.
But I just kept stabbing things. So everything was great. The food was fantastic. So then I decided, let me ask him about the chef. And apparently, I'd watched these chef movies, like you said, about a Michelin chef.
Well, lately, you've been watching. Okay, so now I feel like you're one with the experience of the waiter. Because you watched 2 movies, one on Netflix, it was with Bradley Cooper about a Michelin chef or something, and then one
I forgot
on HBO Max, but that was of satire. It was really funny.
They all died during the meal or something.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
I forgot.
Yeah, anyway, so Scott's like, oh, and so you were like, excuse me, sir, can I meet the chef? Is the chef available tonight? And green purple waiter's like, this is, he has possibly 1,000 restaurants across internationally. So, no, he's not here tonight, sir. He comes once a year and there's a huge celebration. Like maybe then, he'll be there. Okay. Like the guy was obviously, I don't think he understood how genuine you were. I think he thought you were just playing with them or just some idiot that rolled in or something.
No, I really his name was Akira Back, which is the name of the restaurant.
Right.
And I wanted to meet Akira Back. I'm like, this is
You're
fantastic
like,
food.
Mr. Akira Back here?
And then he went into like all his credentials and, how dare I ask if he'd be there?
Yeah.
I thought maybe he was back there.
He's too important to be there.
Making the tuna things that we ate or whatever.
He's too important to be at his own restaurant cooking.
Tuna a tartar or whatever. A tartar.
Well,
I don't know. Funny things.
You like this one thing.
Yes.
This one dish came out.
The best. The best.
And you loved it. And you and the guy next to you, who's also red named Andrew, you guys were like, oh, this is really good. And you're like, you're the type, like, you're just going to ask for more.
Yeah.
Even though it's kind of like a dinner party. And you're like, hey, can you bring me more of this sea bass? And he's like, that's black cod, sir. And you're like, yeah, more of the sea bass. And he's like, I assure you, sir, that is black cod. Okay. And you were like, Andrew, this guy next to me, he said it's sea bass. So, and like the waiter's like, I thought he was going to lose it. He's like, it is black cod.
This is why I did that. 1, because someone told me it was sea bass.
Yeah, Andrew told you it was sea bass.
Okay, number 2.
And Andrew's like, I didn't say that. He didn't want to get in trouble with the waiter. He's like, I don't know.
When I was pointing at the plate, it was empty.
Right.
So there was nothing left on it.
But
I had
knew
eaten
what it was.
everything.
Right.
So I just wanted to make sure he brought the sea bass, not the miso sushi. Or it was
black cod or
the black
something.
cod.
I don't know.
Or whatever
It could have been something else too.
Yeah, miso.
Could have been miso. I don't know.
It was
I
a
don't
fish
eat
that doesn't
fish.
exist.
By the way, I was just eating like green beans.
Yeah, you ate
so
the
I was
green
like,
beans.
I'm so hungry.
But by the
'cause
way,
I don't eat fish.
I know Akira Back did not make it himself because he wasn't there. But that was the best sea bass I've ever eaten, which wasn't sea bass.
I assure you, sir, it is miso black cod or something like that.
Yes.
So we go through this. The guy's like had it with you. Like
Yes,
he's
he has.
mumbling. He's like green purpling out. He doesn't understand how somebody could come to this restaurant and know so little, yet enjoy it so thoroughly.
That's the thing.
Like you didn't need education to
No.
enjoy it.
No, I knew nothing about it.
Yeah.
It was really good. I mean, I walked around the place like 5 times. I had to get up from the table because it was long, and I was moving around. You're right. I'm back to my old. I'm like a kid.
You're like a kid. You can't sit.
I can't sit. I'm
You walking around.
I'm walking around the whole restaurant, checking things out.
Yeah.
Looking it over. I was having the great time.
But you came back from the bathrooms.
I saw him in the bathroom too.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
You didn't tell me that part.
Yeah.
Well, the bathrooms are like unisex or something.
Yeah, they're unisex. Yeah.
So you were like, Megan, be careful back there. It's a unisex bathroom. You don't know. You might be in a stall next to a man. And I'm like, okay. You were just like, because it's very like, avant-garde for you.
Yeah, it was,
everything was new.
Yeah.
For you. You're like, this is very interesting. I'm like, okay. But so finally, I think this was the last straw. And also where you two could have became friends, I think.
I
at
think
the
we
end.
did.
It was time for dessert.
Yep.
And you said, what's your coffee menu? And I think he said something like, we have espresso. And
Yeah,
then
they
you
didn't
said-
have coffee.
You're like, well, what's an espresso? Like at this point, you've asked him. Oh, and I forgot this. You were asking him absolutely every detail about every dish. You're like, what's in this dish? What's in this dish? How's this dish? How's this prepared? So I think by the espresso time, the guy I think it's top blue.
Okay. Yeah. Now I'm not gonna lie. Okay. I asked for the coffee. I thought that they would have it. They didn't. It threw me off again. Because I'm gonna be honest, I don't think I've ever had espresso until that day. I didn't know what it was.
Right.
So I didn't want to feel stupid. So I don't want to ask him what is espresso. So I said, how do you make the espresso?
And he
he's
like,
he couldn't handle it.
He's like, you know what? I take it out of the K-cup and I put it in the Keurig and I just press on, sir. And like he looked like he was gonna freaking lose it. Like he had it with you. You're part of this like dinner party. You know what I mean?
And then Andrew's there telling me like what espresso is. And I'm like, oh, okay.
And Andrew's like asking me like, how do you take him out?
Yeah,
and I'm like, I know.
You don't understand.
He just has a lot of questions.
When I go to a restaurant, I order the same things.
Yeah.
I order a cup of coffee. I don't like, everyone offers like cappuccinos and frappuccinos and all these things. I don't know what those things are.
Yeah.
I don't know what espresso is. I just get a coffee.
But you had a lot of fun.
It was, yes, I had a lot of fun.
And I feel like it was out of your comfort zone. I will say ever since the sound bath, you've been willing to go out of your comfort zone more. I have to tell you that. And when you go out of your comfort zone, like you were having like a really good time. Like you were asking a lot of questions. You just also acted like an 8-year-old might at a Japanese restaurant.
Right. That's what I did.
All. Like an 8-year-old boy might act the same exact way, like with the moving and the what's this and the more food and da 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 da. But it was funny. Yeah. And it was very entertaining.
I think at the end we did come to understanding. I knew he was green purple right from the start.
Right.
I knew his aura.
Oh,
I mean, you guys even asked me at the table, what do you think his aura is? I'm like green purple, and you confirmed I got it right.
100%, yeah.
But, look, at the end of the day, I ate birthday cake with a chopstick. I stabbed it,
what you did.
Put it on the end of my chopstick, and put it in my mouth. So there you go.
Yeah. I think he appreciated you at the end.
I think he did. I got his number. I told him to listen to the podcast.
Okay. All right, so there's your little inner child aura story.
All right, let's take a little break. Got a couple ads, and then you'll be back.
You are in for a treat because support for today's episode comes from Jenny Kane. Think minimalist meets luxury. Jenny Kane items are classic, comfortable, and California-inspired clothes from the cashmere or cotton knit sweater you're obsessed with to the flowy summer dress you never want to take off. With elevated everyday basics and wardrobe essentials, getting dressed is easier than ever before. When it comes to investing in an outfit that'll last, we choose Jenny Kane. For a limited time, our listeners get 15% off their entire entire order. You can go to jennykane.com and use the code KYA to get 15% off. I have the Jenny Kane cashmere cocoon cardigan, and it's in black, but now I also want it in oatmeal because I wear it all the time. I dress it up very easily. I love it because it's something that will never go out of style. It is an absolute classic. It's a staple for my closet. As I've gotten older, I don't like to spend money on things that are going to go out of style or aren't well made or aren't something that's going to last for years to come. I like to invest in my looks, and her stuff is the first place you want to go to do that. You have to go check out their site. It's the most aesthetically pleasing, minimalistic, California dream inspired stuff you'll see. It totally matches my vibe. She's got a lot of different things that'll match your vibe as well. So go find your forever pieces at jennykane.com. Our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use code KYA at checkout. That's 15% off your first order. Jenny Kane, JENNIKAYNE.com, promo code KYA, the brand go-to for all season staples. Treat yourself because you deserve it. We're supposed to go to the OBGYN once a year for our annual checkups, but checking in with our fertility isn't usually a thing until we're ready for kids and struggling to get pregnant. That's why Modern Fertility was created. It's an easy and affordable way to test your fertility hormones at home with a simple finger prick. Mail it in with a prepaid label, and you'll get your personalized results within 6 business days. You'll get insight into your hormone levels, like your ovarian reserve, aka if you have more or fewer eggs than average for your age, and other important factors that can impact your fertility. The results go deep into what every hormone means, and you can also download the results to review with your doctor for next steps. Traditional hormone testing at a fertility clinic can cost over $600, but Modern Fertility tests the same general set of hormones for only $179. And if you go to modernfertility.com/KYA, you can get $20 off your test. Plus, you can get reimbursed for your test through your FSA, HSA. If you want kids today or maybe one day in the future, clinically sound info about your body can help you make the decision that's right for you. Right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off the test when you go to modernfertility.com/KYA. That means your test will cost $159, which is a fraction of what it would cost at a fertility clinic. Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/KYA, modernfertility.com/KYA.
This could be one of my most favorite things to talk about, and that is your inner child aura and how to find it. You know, doing all the readings I do, I've been able to get some specific tips from Spirit, how to find that inner child aura of your own. And I'm going to talk about 8 of those today. But first, what is this inner child aura thing? I'm sure you've heard about inner child, finding your inner child, the you that you used to be, the you that's still in there, but society and programming and just life has kind of crushed a bit. And having a wounded inner child is something that I think a lot of us deal with. But I love looking at pictures of kids in my readings, because just looking at their energies, looking at children's energies, their auras, it's very honest and it's very close to source. It's very much 5D. This is where we come from, and kids are closer to where we come from. You know, kids and old people, if you think about it, you know, it's a circle, and you catch them at the beginning of the loop or the end of the loop. But what happens is they get closer to the beginning or the end. There's a rawness there. There's kind of like a feeling of real, and there's a feeling of a lightheartedness or a free-spiritedness that we lose in the middle of that pathway. So connecting to it is so important. So when I do readings, when I get to look at your picture as a kid, I love it because I get to see you, the real you, the eternal you. And I love looking at pictures of your kids because the same thing. And I think like when I was teaching, I love teaching kids. Like that was the best part of the job, being around kids. I taught middle school and even them, because people will be like, them? I'm like, yes, them. Like, there's just something about children that whether they're grumpy or happy, they're real. They're authentic. They're just closer to that energy that we all strive to be at. So kids' auras change a bit, and it really depends. So sometimes, like when I look at pictures, I'm like, all right, like let's keep it around 3 years old. It doesn't mean you don't have an aura before 3 years old. It just means it's harder for me to see it. But I'll get like a vibe on a kid, just like we all do. It's like a personality vibe. Like you'll get them even at, infancy, 1, 2, 3. But auras for me tend to mostly appear around the age of 3. And that, if you think about it, if you've been around kids, it kind of makes sense, because that's when they start asserting their personality a lot more than before. They start to kind of like, hey, wait a second, this is my view. This is how I deal with things. This is who I am. Kids are honest, and they're magical, and they're fun, and they say what they mean, and they don't worry about how other people are going to react to that. They can say no. They have no problem with that. They don't want to share. They don't share. They don't want to do something. They don't feel like they have like no worth. They're very in the moment. They don't feel bad about who they are. And that's actually how you're supposed to be. It's this 3D world that tells you and gives labels to you. Oh, you're mean for saying no, to hugs from Uncle whoever. Or you're not nice if you don't share your toy with somebody. Or, you putting up a boundary means that you're not a kind person. It's the world that tells you that. But honestly, where we come from and where we go to, how spirit kind of shines down during readings and comes through during readings is actually boundaries and saying no and being honest and not being controlled by how other people react to you from it. That's the kindest you can be, because you're being kind to your own energy and yourself, and allows you to do what you're supposed to do here with more ease. But we get taught from a very young age, and we all do it. I've done it. I have kids. I do it. Be nice, say sorry, don't do that. I mean, there's a balance, right? Because we have to teach our people to exist in the world in a way that makes sense. And we have to teach our people to have empathy, and we have to teach them to like, hey, there's other people's feelings and stuff like that. But there's another side to it where it depends. Like, you have a choice. So when I talk about inner child auras, it's like, it's not some blanket thing. Like, you're mean if you say no to somebody, and that's a blanket thing. It's more like, hey, think about who you're doing the thing you want to do for, why you're doing it, what your motivations are, and what the mutual exchange is here. That's where you're supposed to do. And then go help, and then be nice, and then share, and then do what you're going to do. So it's kind of like revisiting your childhood and reparenting yourself in a way. And this all happens when you connect with your inner child aura. So I think I'll just explain it best. Like, I feel like we've all had this experience. And so I'll just tell you one of mine. Over the summer, I have 2 kids, 14 and 8, but over the summer they were 7 and 13. And we went to this like local water park just in Florida. Nothing fancy. And there's water slides at the beginning. And my little one was like, come on, Mom, let's go. Come on. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like the only adult like walking up these, it's a water slide and it's high. So, step on, I'm sitting there with my tube and I'm on, my bathing suit and I'm like, okay. And there's all these little kids everywhere, and kids are kids and they're funny. And it's weird because, I get so used to being an adult and I forget, and I'm starting to get scared. I'm like, oh, this is kind of high up. And wait a second, like all these little kids do it, no problem. They just get on the slide and they whoosh down, no problem. And I'm like, I'm getting nervous and I have my tube and I'm like, what do I do? And I think some little kids were noticing that I was getting nervous. And this like little boy, he's like, oh, make sure you put your butt up when you're on the slide. That'll make sure nothing hurts, And I'm like, okay, thanks. And, all of a sudden, like they notice my vulnerability possibly. So they all kind of, Oh, okay. And I got on their level. Like I went to the kids' vibe. It was a long line, so I had a lot of time to do this. And by the time I was at the top, I had all these kids like, okay, come on, you could do it, lady. I'm like the only adult up there. I'm like, okay. And I got stuck on the slide because I think I'm too heavy. And they were all like shouting over the railing, like, scoot your butt, you know? And so I had so much fun. Because I was like little Megan again. Like, I'm like, oh my God, it's me again. And I reconnected to a lot of things that I am. Like, I'm adventurous, but I'm also scared all the time. But I work really hard at not letting that affect me. And I remember feeling that, like, as a kid, like I really wanted to do something, but I was scared. But I would allow other people to help me to bolster my confidence. And I was doing that, you know? So I'm sure you've had an experience where you felt like a kid again. And there's just something so freeing about it. There's just something so lighthearted. There's just something so wholesome about that. And it really cuts through all these layers that are kind of just like accumulated and they're nonsense and just right to your core. So thinking about times when you felt like that, let's approach today's podcast. You know, I'll see your aura colors as a kid, and sometimes they do change as you're an adult. And last week we talked about, was that last week? I don't know, 2 weeks ago or something. We talked about trauma, so that can be part of it. I mean, societal programming can be so many things can be part of this. So it's not the worst thing if you're a different aura color than you were as a kid, but it's still worth something to connect to it. So I notice in people's spiritual awakenings, what tends to happen is I'll look at them and I'm like, oh my gosh, I feel like that is like, you know, you're purple, but there's a little pink shining through. I feel like have you been doing like some inner child work or something? And you know, more often than not, they've been doing something. And it's a symptom of a spiritual awakening to get some of the inner child you awakened. And it's fun, but it's also you relearning about yourself so you can kind of feel like a kid sometimes, like unsure or I don't know, or just like it can kind of like if you've been purple blue your whole life, but you were pink as a kid and you're awakening that pink, you're starting at like square one on the pink. So you might be going through some stuff in your spiritual development that's a little immature with quotes around it, but whatever. So meaning you might decide, you know, you might become a Disney adult. I don't know, like something like that. And you're like, listen, I'm a Disney adult. It's just how I'm processing my inner child pink coming. And, you know, I'm just, embrace it. You know what I mean? Like there's stages and that's okay. My kid tells me I'm a Disney adult. So that's why I had to bring that up. Okay. Recapturing who you were as a child is fun and engaging. It helps you understand joy again. You know, sometimes it's like, be joyful. People tell you, it's like, well, flipping how? I got bills and like relationships that aren't working out and a job I'm not really thrilled about and like responsibilities I don't want to do and I'm tired all the time and like, how? Well, this is one way. I'm going to give you the 8 ways, but this is how. This inner child work we're going to talk about. It connects you to spirit because honestly, kids are straight shot to spirit. And your inner child aura, straight shot to spirit. So it helps connect you to that. It gives you insight into what is important and what's not. So perspective, gives you good perspective. And it lets you know yourself because there's so much that the world told you that you are that you may be like, wait a second, I don't think I'm that person. But everybody always told me I was that person, but maybe I'm not. I had a reading with a lady the other day and she's a teacher. And she was like indigo purple, but super indigo. But as a kid, she was indigo purple too, but the purple was coming out. Anyways, but I saw the yellow too, but it was like, eh. And she's like, I'm not yellow. I'm like, no, but her whole family situation, that's why she thought she was yellow. And she would do yellow things, and that's fine. But it kind of like awakens you to like, wait a second, I'm not this way. I was taught to be this way, and it's kind of stuck some things because some things are like useful to me in my life, but that's not really who I am. It's just what I do because there's a difference between who you are and what you do. And understanding your inner child stuff will unlock that for you. And it brings you back, and this is the big one, all right? It brings you back to an unaltered state of abundance. Think about a baby, all right? You're in the hospital. This is what happens. They just like hand you a baby. That's what happens. It's like the weirdest thing when you're a new mom. It's like, you're just giving me that? It's like, yeah, we're just giving you that. It's like, okay. And that baby's just sitting there, like looking at you. And the baby's energy is complete abundance. Babies don't ask, where am I getting my food from? Who's holding me? Who's loving me? It's like in a perfect situation, in a good situation, in the situation we all deserve and should have had. And if you didn't, that's really unfortunate. But in the state that it's supposed to be, you are completely accepting of anything that's being given to you. And you don't question your self-worth for receiving it. Food, of course. Things, warmth, love, care, concern. You just take it. You're in an unaltered state of abundance. We have to get back to that, people. That's why we have issues with money and relationships and our own harmful practices to ourselves, because we left that absolutely natural state of abundance. Unconditional abundance. You have done nothing. You have done nothing in your life that has resulted in you not being worth everything you want. You just being here is enough. And infants, when you're an infant, at some point, you had that. Hopefully longer periods than other times. If you had like a good childhood or good caretakers, hopefully longer times you had that. But even if not, for some amount of time you had that. You were born that way. And we can return to that. And that helps us with receiving love, receiving money, receiving comfort and stability and unconditional acceptance. When we connect to that back, and we can do that through our inner child work. We get away from our inner child through just, parents. We all do it. I've done it to my kids, don't do that. Come on, hurry along. We don't got time to look at the flower all day. Let's go. Come on, we got to go. All right. I don't know, you can't have ice cream for dinner. I mean, sometimes it's benign stuff. Sometimes it's negative things that they've done. Societal expectations. All right. It's silly to do this, or it's a time waste to do that. If you're not making money, this is why we stop playing. If you're not making money, the thing you enjoy isn't important. I mean, that's like a societal expectation. Why are you coloring in that coloring book? Like, what a waste of time. Why are you doing that puzzle? Like, what a waste of time. Why do you have your camera out photographing your garden? What a waste of time. Do you make money? No. Why are you doing that? Why? That's society. Okay, that gets you away from yourself, your inner child aura. We want to fit in. You don't want to, this is what I'm seeing with my middle schooler now, dropping things because they want to fit in. It's a terrible thing to see, but it's society, it's peer groups, it's what happens. And not giving enough time for what we love, not allowing us space to explore the things we love, not allowing ourselves to play anymore. How does it feel when you have an inner child, a wounded inner child? You've become a pleaser because everybody else's environmental feelings, thoughts, and emotions and judgments are more important than your own because you were taught that. Oh, be a good girl for the teacher, or we don't do this in, this space because people will look at you, or this is how we behave. Again, things we have to teach our kids in our society, but at the same time, it takes us away from it. It's kind of a double-edged sword. You mask emotions. That's something that you do if you have a wounded inner child. You're sad and you're like, I'm great, I'm fine. You ever stubbed your toe and it really flippin' hurts, but you're in front of everybody? So you're like, oh no, it's fine. Then you go home and you're like, oh my God, I think it's broken. Because you just can't tell people. What do kids do when they get hurt? They lay down on the floor. It's like the end of times. Okay. Like, that's an extreme example, but other ways too. Somebody says something to you that's rude and you just laugh it off. Ha ha ha. Okay. That's a more extreme version. Worth is your productivity. If I'm not doing something, I'm not worth anything. Children don't. That's not natural. That's not a natural thing. That's not real. That's societal produced nonsense. It's not real. You don't like conflict. Kids are fine with conflict. Have you ever been to a preschool? Okay. So much drama. All right. But they get over it. Like, it's not the end of the world. They tattle on each other and then they're playing 2 seconds later. But like as adults, we're like, oh my gosh, we can't have conflict. This is awful, anxiety and all that. You're not great at boundaries. Kids are great at boundaries. No, I don't want to play that. No, I'm not playing with you if you play it that way. I'm not playing with you. Yeah, they're great at boundaries. You can't touch that. You can come to my room, but you're not allowed to touch that. Can you imagine saying that to somebody in your house? Come on in. You want to say it to them, but you can't. So like things like that. Again, there's more extreme examples than not. And you can't deal with any critique, even gentle criticism. Kids deal with it all the time. Just if you have a kid and you're doing homework with them after school like I am, like, okay, let's work on your letter B. Let's make that a little better. Or, they get kids can handle criticism. It's actually real gentle criticism that's constructive. They can handle that. And it really shouldn't hurt you when you get told something gently and kindly for the purpose of your own betterment. But that's a symptom of a wounded inner child if you can't handle any critique and you shut down. So when I do readings, I think the number one thing I notice is people don't know how to be themselves. They're like, who am I? What am I? I feel so distanced from joy. I don't know how to walk the bridge to feeling authentically happy. I get that a lot. It's a terrible condition of our society, actually. And I'll see the quickest way to do that is it's time to connect with your inner child aura. So I'll look at like your kid picture and I'll be like, okay, let me see you as a kid. A lot of times I just read an adult the other day, but she gave me her kid picture and she was like so confident. She was purple blue as a kid, so confident. And, she was like, oh my gosh, like I see all this going on and I know mom's upset or brother's this or dad's that. There was just this kind of inner knowing that her intuition was correct, which is the purple. And she had like a feistiness and honesty to her. But then I saw her picture like later on in life, like adolescence. And it was sad because you could tell she got shot down a lot because then her blue was really washed out and I couldn't even see the purple. And then as an adult, I could tell she was really working on getting it all back, And how do we get back to that confident, feisty, like exactly who you are person? How do we get to that? Because I'll see little kids like 3, 4, 5, 6 years old. They know themselves better than like a 40-year-old woman knows herself. And it's because they got that inner child aura thing going on. So connecting back to that is how you get it done. There's this subconscious agreement that we end up making that who we are isn't worth the time. It's only what we do and who we can be to other people and how we're perceived. And you have to drop all that, or at least be aware of it when you're working on your inner child aura stuff. So finding your inner child aura, it's about finding you, and it's a hugely healing thing to do. And it's a lot of fun. That's the other thing. I had a reading with a woman and a spirit. Sometimes like your spirit guides will just say something. Like I think like with me, they love to drop quotes. So I'm like, whoa, it's like a quote. But this was so good. I'm like, I think a lot of people could benefit from this woman's message. So this was the message straight up from her spirit guides. This is what they said. Be present in your own presence. Because she had the same thing. Like, how do I be me? How do I figure myself out? Like, how do I exist and feel good about something? Because you always feel like you're on the way to something. Like I have to be working on something, or I have to journey on something, or I have to do something. Well, honestly, no. Like you just have to be present in your own presence. Just participate in your own life. Like flip and have fun today. And so let's talk about 8 ways that you can do that. Now there's so many ways that you can do this, and I'm sure you can think of your own ways. But these are things that have come up that really hit home for me and for my clients in readings. So these are the ones that have come up in readings that I wanted to bring up. So I think these are fun. And listen, you don't have to be weird. You don't have to do like weird stuff to connect to your inner child aura. You know what I mean? Like I think some people think they have to go like join a finger painting class or something. Like it's okay. We can do this in a way. We can do baby steps to finding your inner child aura where you don't feel like silly. And you can look absolutely sane finding your inner child aura. You don't have to be skipping down a hill by yourself. I mean, go do that And I think that's awesome. And we won't judge you over at the MMSF. But, I get it if you're worried about other people judging you. Okay. Number 1, and this is my favorite, kids' books. Oh, kids' books. Kids' books. What was your favorite book as a kid? What was your favorite book as a kid? Like, what is still in your head? I had 2. Rainbow Bright. Freaking loved Rainbow Bright. Kind of makes sense now with the colors. Okay. I liked her because she did all the colors. Who was your favorite Rainbow Bright character? Oh, yes, I am a child of the 80s. I'm aging myself. So I love Rainbow Bright. And Angelina Ballerina was my other one. And let me tell you, I loved reading those books to my kids. And even now, I'll get them from the library when we go. And it's like, you read them to me. And kids' books are great. I mean, even kids' books that you find newer kids' books that your kids like, or I don't know, that you just see them like advertised or whatever. Like, go over. We went to the bookstore the other day, and I don't know if you ever read the Pigeon on the Bus series. Like, Don't Let the Pigeon Drive the Bus. Oh my gosh. I love those books. They're so funny. And there was one I hadn't read before, like, Don't Let the Pigeon Goes to School or something. And I'm like, oh my God, I read this one yet. And me, like, I just read it out loud at the bookstore. And my kid was with me, and it's just fun. It's just fun. And it really lets you see into your interests. Like, if you read books from when you were a kid, like your interests. And even if not, it connects you to those like kid themes. I mean, some books can just make you cry, like Velveteen Rabbit. All right. Like, I love that book too, but it makes me cry. But I love that book. Because a Runaway Bunny. Okay. We could go on. We'll continue that talk over on the MMSF because I know you all have amazing recommendations too. And it's just a great way to connect with that inner child aura. Number 2, I don't wanna. I don't freaking wanna. I don't wanna do that. Okay? There is absolutely nothing wrong with saying you don't want to do something. Kids say it all the time. We're going grocery shopping. Well, I don't wanna. You ever say that? If you have kids, like, you hear that all the time. And then you're like, well, mommy doesn't want to either, but we have to eat. Okay. So it's just, I don't wanna, but at least connect with your I don't wanna. It doesn't always mean that you can't. Sometimes you can see if there's a choice, but I don't wanna is a great way to connect with your inner child aura. Just taking a second to ask yourself, like, do I want to do this? It's a scary thing to ask because you could be driving to the job you hate. And then in your head, you're like, your inner child aura is like, hey, I don't wanna. And you're like, yeah, that's a good idea. Let's quit. And that can happen. And that is why that's why your ego doesn't want you to go back to your inner child aura, because you're going to change up your life probably a lot when you do it, but one step at a time. At least connect with your I don't want to. Don't be scared of what you don't want to do. Allow yourself that connection. Number 3, circle the catalog. Okay, this is like a real thing. My daughter's got the American Girl Doll Company catalog. Thing's amazing. Brings me right back to 8 years old. And they know what they're doing. Like, everything's online now, but I don't know. If you have kids or you know kids, it's like getting that catalog. It's like fun. Even my kids, like, who are digital age children, they like to circle what they want in the catalog. It's just fun. Why don't you do that? Doesn't mean you have to buy it. It means you can go through. I don't know if you all get it, but Amazon sends out their Christmas catalog. It's like the coolest thing ever. Like, just go through it. Be like, what are they playing with now? Oh my God, I totally want that. I totally want that. I totally want that. It's just fun. It's just a fun thing to do. It's fun to do it with a kid too, if you can. But you don't have to do it with a kid. You're at the park. Get on the swing. Just do it. See how far you can go. See if you can still jump off it. If that's available to you, please don't get hurt. Go on the water slide. Do the thing. We went to a gator park because I'm in Florida. That's what you do here. And there was like this option you could hold a baby gator. And all the adults were like, no. And I'm like, oh, don't hold that. I'm going to hold it. I want to touch it. Why not? You don't have to not do something just because you think it's for kids. And it was fun. They're very soft. Okay. 5, be curious. Kids ask a lot of questions. They're really invested in things, in minutia. They're really invested in it. Get on that level, take your time, touch stuff you're interested in. Is that slimy? Is that fun? Like, what is that? How do you do this? How do you use that? Ask the questions. Being really curious is a wonderful way to open your inner child aura. I mean, like, you can even do this, if you're working in a corporate environment and they have like a guest speaker, maybe there's something really interesting that you noticed. Go up to them, ask them questions, be curious, ask questions. We get so used to dismissing our curiosity, but that's such a quick way to connect with your inner child aura. If something's interesting to you, even if there's no point to it, or you're like, oh, forget it, I just want to go home instead of ask this question, or go back to my office instead of ask this question, go ask the question. Why not, right? 6, spend time with kids, spend time with pets, spend time with places and people that are very present and fun and joyful. You can borrow their joy too. You can borrow a kid's joy. I ever go to the park? Woo! They're so excited. Like, borrow it. If you have an animal, I'll just infuse pets in here too, because they have the same amazing like connection to spirit like little kids do. Borrow their joy. Like, they love going for that walk, even if it's nothing. Borrow it. Like, oh my gosh, you're smelling that patch of grass? What is so interesting about that? Let me take a look. And you know what else? Like, with the spending time with kids and pets, they don't think about like, that's going to get me messy and I have to ride home wet or something. Like, they don't worry about that. So maybe notice that, I don't want to put my head underwater at the beach today because I don't know, I'm going to have to blow dry it tomorrow. It's like a whole thing. Like maybe let it go, I don't want to walk through that part of the grass because my shoes are going to get muddy. Like, maybe let it go. Maybe wear different shoes next time too. Just make space in your life to get messy. Make space in your life to play. Make space in your life to do those things. Number 7, get a childhood photo of yourself and make it like your screen backdrop or something on your phone, or stick it on your dashboard, or stick it on your computer, or frame it, and just somewhere where you see it a lot, and talk to yourself. Like, hey, little me, how are we playing today? How are we doing today? How am I going to listen to you today? And number 8, I have cook up your favorite food from childhood and just enjoy it. Mine used to be tuna fish and alphabet soup. I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I can do it, but maybe you can do yours. I don't think I can do tuna fish anymore. It grosses me out. But maybe you can do your thing. Or just go to like the ice cream parlor and get the most ridiculous thing. And please don't worry about like calories because that's so boring. And little kids don't worry about that. So finally, forgive yourself for the stuff that wasn't your fault. That's the other thing. Forgive yourself for the stuff that wasn't your fault. There were people around you that may have put blame on you for things that happened. But ask yourself, go and look at that situation. Like, I was 3 and they left me, alone in this situation, and then that happened, and then they yelled at me. If something stands out to you from your childhood that feels like you were yelled at and you felt very much at fault for something, because you've made an agreement. And what a lot of this inner child work will do is break agreements. So forgive yourself for the stuff that really wasn't your responsibility. Somebody else should have noticed the context you were in and taken you out of it. Okay, I hope this helped. I hope this helps you connect with your inner child aura. And I want to hear all the ways that you do this over on the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family Facebook page.
Hey, Scotty.
Hey, guys.
Okay, just to follow up with the inner child aura theme, I asked members over on the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family page what their favorite book was as a kid. Because we just talked about that. And what their aura color is. And I'm like, all right, let's see if there's some correlation between aura colors and types of books kids like. Because I thought like, okay, maybe the indigo kids might all like the kind of more deeper kind of emotional ones with the emotional undertones, whereas maybe the tricolor kids would like the more quirky books or something like that. But looking at everyone's, that's all. Yeah, I think in true children fashion, everybody likes books.
But they're like, yeah.
Yeah, and kids like all sorts of books.
Yeah.
You know, and usually there's favorites too.
Right, like Bree and Abby, they like different. Like I remember, what did Bree used to like? She used to like Pinkalicious or...
Yeah, and Abby hated that.
Abby didn't like that one.
Yeah, Bree's Red and Purple, and she loved Pinkalicious and Fancy Nancy.
Fancy Nancy, that's the one. Yeah, she loved Fancy Nancy.
And Abby, who's turquoise and purple, she doesn't like books about real girly characters.
Okay.
That's just not her thing.
She tried Fancy Nancy a little, but wasn't into that either.
And it's crazy because like she wants to do everything her sister wants to do, so you'd think.
Yeah.
But she was always way more into books about like children going through something or things that had kind of a more wackier theme or I can't even like more like animals she was into. Like I had to struggle to find books that she was into. But yeah.
Yeah, so I guess maybe there really isn't a correlation?
I couldn't really find a correlation.
Okay.
So looking at like The Giving Tree, a lot of people wrote that one. Like Shauna wrote she liked The Giving Tree. She's indigo. Velveteen Rabbit, which is also another one. Yeah, but a lot of kids like that. And Kelly wrote that, and she's yellow purple. Corduroy. Do you remember the Corduroy books?
No.
Oh my God, Bree loved the Corduroy books. Blue. Brittany put that down. She's blue. Stella Luna.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. But that Good Night Moon?
Good Night Moon.
Anyone put that?
Yeah, people put Good Night Moon.
Yeah.
I'm like, what else? Oh, the Rainbow Fish. A lot of tricolored people did say that they like the Rainbow Fish, I have to say. Where the Wild Things Are.
Where the Wild Things Are.
That's got to be your thing.
Yeah, that was a big one.
Caitlin C put that one down. She's blue-green. But I can see it, you know.
Yeah, I can see that being green.
But I like that kid. I like that book too.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm into purple. I love that book. What else? It's funny. Michelle Salvis put Good Night Construction Site. I've never read that one. That must be newer.
Is she green?
That
sounds like a green one.
She is green.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she is green. I used to love the Berenstein Bears too, and everyone, like a lot of people,
Berenstein Bears. Yeah, everyone loved that. I mean, didn't everyone love the Berenstein Bears?
That's what I mean. Like, I wasn't finding any aura correlation, so it just became like a fun thread that everybody put on. But I think if I had to say, like overall, it seems like the greens tend to like the ones that are a little more like Narnia or sci-fi kind of things like that. Hungry Caterpillar, a lot of yellows picked that one up. What else? Like Alice in Wonderland, a lot of some indigos put that one down. I Love You Forever. Okay. You know, a lot of purple blues were into that one. The Secret Garden, some turquoises wrote that one down. So I think it's fun. So take a check, go check out that thread because I feel like it's a fun way to tap into like, your inner child aura and just kind of reawaken that.
All right. Well, speaking of books, I got this book. Now, first, I'm going to just call Overtime right here. Overtime is being called. There's no question here.
And you're going to want to run.
Yes, please go.
You're going to want to go.
It's time for you to go.
Run.
No reason to stay. I saw the thread on the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family.
This isn't for children anymore.
Yeah, again, Overtime. Jumanji Overtime. Okay. And there was this thread about like weird genre of graphic novels, I don't know what you call them, romance novels that involve like creatures and people.
I think it's like supernatural erotica.
Yeah.
And did the Flirtles bring this to your attention?
Yes. The Wednesday.
So explain that.
Yes. My Wednesday night discussion group brought this to my attention, and then I checked the post. And on the post was someone had put this book, Erotic Encounters with the Mothman. Meredith meets the Mothman.
Now, I was in Scott's presence when he was reading this post for the first time. It's kind of like what people might have thought of when they first discovered the moon or something. You were like, what? This exists?
How does this exist? Why does this exist? And now I need a copy.
Like that's the series of actions that your brain might
exactly. And I went on to Amazon. It's obviously I think it's self-published. It's like kind of like a pamphlet more than a
Right.
book, I guess. The author, of course, is from South Florida, which makes perfect
South Florida
sense.
purple, baby.
South Florida purple. She looks like a purple. Got her picture on the cover, on the back cover.
Yeah.
So, we're on the discussion group. They're talking about it. So I'm like, you know what? All right, I'm just gonna buy it. So right there, I share my screen. I put on my Amazon.
Yeah.
And I buy it right there. Everyone's
did
like,
it.
"Oh my god, he just bought it! He bought it! He bought it!" Okay, whatever. So I get it, and I did not read the whole thing.
I don't know,
read,
Scott.
I read.
I don't know. I feel like you've been enjoying it.
Well, I'm gonna invite the waiter over. No, just kidding. All right. So I figured
what's
we'd have
happening?
I figured we'd have story time.
Oh, my.
And I am now going to read a passage from Erotic Encounters.
Children, leave
with
the room.
The Mothman.
Leave the room.
I reiterate overtime. Overtime. Jumanji.
Okay.
All right. Now, I did pick, this is a very graphic book, by the way. There's things that happen in here to Mothy that I don't even know. Just like going to the Japanese restaurant, I don't know things. I don't know things here either.
Oh, this is a whole new world.
Yes. So
Are you going to get any ideas?
apparently
I'm a little nervous
there's
of our next Jumanji time
These
together.
two women are taken to Mothman's home. Apparently he has a home. So that's, I guess, where he goes when he wasn't when people spotted him and then they couldn't
Oh.
find him. Then he went to him. So I'm going to read about his house.
Okay.
This is about Mothman's
I'm
house.
curious.
Yes.
And
Now,
oddly enough, I am curious.
this is the Point Pleasant Mothman, by the way, that
Great.
we're referring to.
Okay.
Again, overtime. The walls were covered with all manner of pictures, posters, paintings, large movie place cards, advertisements, even newspaper clippings.
Okay.
So apparently he reads. The Mothman could read. Apparently.
He
Yeah.
reads about himself.
Yeah. Against the back wall stood an enormous set of shelving that reached halfway to the ceiling and ran the entire length of the wall.
He's a carpenter.
Yeah, he's a carpenter. Every shelf was packed to overflowing with things. He's a hoarder.
He's a hoarder.
Stacks upon stacks of books, magazines, clocks, lamps, clothing, tools, dishes. It was impossible to see everything all at once. It simply was too much.
Oh.
I mean, he has so many things.
He's not a minimalist.
He's not. She slowly moved further. That's maybe why he was constantly going out at night
Okay.
to get these things.
Yeah.
This makes sense. She slowly moved further into the room, almost unaware she was doing it. One corner of the room was set up as a kitchen, complete with refrigerator and stove. Both appliances clean and shining. I mean, and he's a neat freak. He's a yellow. Mothie's a yellow.
He could be a yellow.
He's a yellow.
Mothman's a yellow.
A lengthy wooden rectangular table, polished to a rich glossy shine, stood against the opposite wall, occupied by giant bowls filled with all manners of fruits and vegetables.
Oh.
Whoa. Further down against the farthest wall in the room was the biggest bed Meredith had ever seen.
Oh my God.
So this is
Oh
this is
my
where,
God,
yeah,
stop.
yeah.
Oh.
I mean, if you go further than page 34, and
Right.
the book is only like 48 pages. It starts to get mothy.
Mothy.
All right, let me move forward. I'm going to move forward here.
Okay. Oh man, dare you?
Here we go. Now,
Well, okay.
overtime. maybe okay. Meredith felt her body being lifted up off the table. His blank,
Okay, yeah, censor that.
okay, was still there as he spread his wings to their full span.
I wish you guys could see my face right now.
She inhaled sharply, gripping
Ew.
his upper arms tight.
Ew.
Her feet locked around, and okay, so there's
What's
another.
happening?
There's three of them. It's
Wait,
three.
what?
There's two ladies and the Mothman.
So he's having a menage a moth?
Yeah.
It's a menage a moth
Yes.
man.
Yes.
Oh.
All right.
Ah.
Can we end this? Just end this.
Oh, okay. I
No.
want you to keep going though.
I can't. I'm dying.
Okay. Maybe to be continued in a further overtime.
All right. Yes. Okay.
If we get requests for more, we'll definitely read more from that book.
I don't know. I don't know if I can.
All right. Well, this podcast, believe it or not, is for you and about you. And we're so glad you spent some time with us today.